Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the second session of the Design Thinking Grand Prix of the School of Design and Communication. Thank you for attending session number 2. If you remember from last week, we talked about Stokes. Stokes are activities that keep you active whenever we do design work. Let's do some Stokes today. Our first Stoke is called the 1-2-3 clap. Pick a partner and alternately clap while saying the numbers 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1.
That was pretty easy, right? So let's add something to make it more interesting. Let's clap alternately, but this time you don't say the 2 aloud. Number 2 will be silent. Like this.
3, 1, 3, 1, 3.
Still easy. Let's add a little more flavor to the mix. 1, you'll still say it aloud and clap. 2, you'll clap, but you'll be silent. 3, instead of clapping, you'll say 3 aloud, but this time you'll stamp your foot on the floor.
1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1.
Round number 4, you'll be doing it a little faster. And this time, when you do make a mistake, jump and say, "Tada!"
3, 1, 3, 1. Ay, tada!
Good job so far. Now let's do some more Stokes. Good job so far. In the next round, we're going to do no lets and yes and. Let's say your team was given transportation and some money to go on a tour around Cebu. What should you and your team do? For the first round, you're going to use your sticky notes and your Sharpies to put out an idea. But the person next to you should say no and then come up with his own. And then the person next to that person will also have to say no and come up with his own idea. Let's do this for 2 rounds. What if we're given transportation and some money to go on a tour? What are we going to do?
Let's go to Mual.
No, let's go shopping.
No, let's go to Paris.
No, let's go to the beach. In the next round, you'll still use your Sharpies and your sticky notes, but this time you're going to build on each other's idea. So let's say somebody wants to go to the mall. The other person will say, yes, and let's bring our dogs. We're given transportation and some money to go on a tour. What are we going to do?
Yes, let's go. Let's go surfing.
Yes, and let's bring our dogs.
Yes, let's buy some foods.
Yes, and let's party. Good job on the Stokes. What are the key takeaways from those 2 sets of Stokes? First is tada. We celebrate mistakes. There's no right or wrong in design thinking. Second takeaway is that you must get your ideas out there, no matter how silly they are. And third takeaway is yes and. When you work with teams, build on each other's ideas instead of shooting each other's ideas down. Let's review the design problem that we're trying to solve. It's called a better food future. How might we build a better food future for our own communities? Each team has to come up with a simple, creative solution and how to encourage the feeding of children nutritiously But our solutions must reduce food loss and waste at the same time. And we must also consider that our solutions will be affordable and accessible. Now that we've reviewed the design problem, let's also review the design thinking journey. If you remember, we're using the school's design thinking structure. There's so many design thinking structures, and it's not always in hexagons and not always linear. Why is there a need to use design thinking? Because innovation makes us anxious. And that's the paradox of innovation. Sometimes, in order to be more creative, we have to give more structure and not less. But the structure needs to be of the right kind. Design thinking can help us provide very specific guidance by laying out a discrete set of steps to help us get there. So the diagram here shows 5 modes that we identify as empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Last session, we were able to do empathizing and defining. Today, we're going to move to ideation.
Last week, you already chose your POV through dot voting. Today, please take it out and as a team, zoom out and review. If this is really the user whose problem you'd like to address, or if this is really the problem that you would like to solve. So how do we make good HMW questions? We usually give our students this example. We all know that it's kind of hard to eat ice cream, especially during a hot day. This problem is called the ice cream experience. How to create an ice cream cone that doesn't drip? What do you think about that? How might we? That's too narrow. How to redesign dessert? What do you think about that? That is also too wide. The best how might we question for this is how to redesign ice cream to make it portable. Now that's properly scoped. It's not too narrow and it allows for more ideas. This is also another example that we give to our students, the airport waiting space challenge. The POV is we met a frenzied mother of 3. She rushes to her gate to find out that her flight is delayed. The pain point there is that she has to entertain her playful children so that she'll avoid irritating already frustrated fellow passengers. So here are some how might we questions. How might we separate the kids from fellow passengers? Now that's alleviating or lessening the tension. You can also explore the opposite. How might we make the trip the most exciting part? How might we remove wait time altogether? We can question that assumption. Or my favorite, we can also create an analogy. How might we make the airport like a spa, like a playground? How might we make playful, loud kids less annoying? Some more examples would be how might we help Miss Ina, a full-time working mom, build that balance between home life and work life? Or how can we help full-time worker Lucy feel good about leaving her pet at home? So use page 12 of your worksheets to come up with good how might we questions. We'll give you time, so please pause this video until you're ready. Once you've gotten the consensus of the team that that's really the POV that you'd like to solve, we're going to structure now 3 how might we prompts for that POV. We also call them HMWs. We're going to turn the person's pain point into something that we can do to help that allows for several options, but be mindful that it shouldn't be a solution yet. Make sure that your HMW statement includes a verb. I hope you now have 3 how might we questions that are not too wide but not too narrow at the same time. We're now moving on to ideation, which is the favorite part of a lot of our students. Ideation is the mode of your design process in which you aim to generate radical design alternatives. It's going wide in terms of concepts and outcomes. It's flaring rather than focus. So if you see the diagram at the right, When you went out and discovered or empathized, you went for volume. When you interpreted or defined, you focused. This time, we're going to flare out again to generate ideas. The goal here is to explore a wide solution space, so we're going for quantity. Do not mind if your idea seems silly, but we just don't do any kind of brainstorm. There are actually brainstorm rules in design thinking, and you must keep these in mind. One conversation at a time, go for quantity, the more the merrier. Headline, that means categorize, build on the ideas of others. Remember, yes, and encourage wild ideas. Be visual. If you don't know how to describe it, then draw it. Stay on topic and no blocking or judgment. Here's an example of ideation or brainstorming. The prompt is, how might we find a needle in a haystack?
Now let's practice some brainstorming rules. Question: how might we find a needle in a haystack?
Let's use a blower. Let's use magnet. Or we can use a metal scanner. Scanner. Superpower. I'll call Superman.
Focus on the how might we questions at hand. For round one, brainstorming, let's take turns coming up with ideas. One idea at a time using sticky notes. Pause this video for 1 to 2 minutes for your free round. Ready for round two? On page 14 of your worksheets, you will find some constraints. What's interesting about design thinking is that we use constraints to generate more ideas instead of considering them as limitations. So what are ideas that cost 50 pesos only? What are ideas that might get you into trouble with your barangay leader? What are ideas that has something to do with fantasy or magic? Give each idea 1 to 2 minutes. You may pause this video. Now round three is we categorize same ideas or solutions together. Which solutions are physical? Which solutions are digital? And which ones are related to experience? Now I hope you haven't forgotten how to dot vote. Get your sticky circles and mark 2 circles with Q as in quick, 2 circles with D's as in delightful, and 2 circles with the letter B as in breakthrough. Which among your ideas are the quickest to do? Which ones are the most delightful? And which one do you think are the breakthroughs? You're going to agree as a team now if you're going to go for the delightful or the breakthroughs. I hope you've decided already by this time on which idea or solution to go for. Now's the most interesting part. We're going to prototype your solutions and test them. Are you now ready to prototype? Prototyping gets ideas out of your head and into the world. A prototype can be anything that takes a physical form. It can be a wall of post-its, a role-playing activity, an object. In early stages, keep prototypes rough and inexpensive. To your right is a photo of a project team working in an African country in designing a new device to plant teff. Teff is a grain and staple of Ethiopia. You can see that they're working on a low resolution to learn quickly and explore possibilities. So go on and build your rough prototype solution. Remember, prototypes should not be made for perfection, but for iteration and improvement. Go to page 16 of your worksheets to describe your prototype. If you don't know how to describe them in words, you can always draw. Now let's prototype for empathy. Quickly assign roles to the team to bring your concept or solution to life. Pick someone to be the user, someone else to play the technology or the solution you've envisioned. If you're designing an experience, roles might include parents, children, shoppers, even diners. Be sure to assign observers to watch and tag in when someone gets stuck. Try to really dive into it as a team. Now and then, break the scene to discuss what's working and what's not. Early feedback will give you success. Now that you've tested the prototype among yourselves, test it with real users. Testing with users is a fundamental part of human centered design. You test with users to not only refine your solution, but to better understand the people you're designing for. When you test prototypes, consider both what you can learn about your solution and what you can learn about your user. You can always use more empathy. Go out and test your prototypes on at least 3 users. This is an example of testing. This is Barry Gordy. He's the founder of Motown Records. He would create songs and then he would say, "Do you like this song?" And people would say yes or no. If everyone would say, "I love this song, it's great," then he would say, "Okay, if you had enough money to buy a sandwich and you're starving, do you buy the song or do you buy the sandwich?" And if they bought the song, he knew that this song needs to go out there because he knew at that moment the people needed that song, then they needed to eat. That's prototyping for you from Barry Gordy. This is also another form of testing. It's the Lone Surprise game by the people of IDEO after the Typhoon Haiyan happened. In this Lone Surprise game, the team set up shop in an area where they knew lots of the people they were designing for would group or congregate. And then they laid out a simple dice game where you would roll a loan. Once a participant rolled the dice, she was told the terms of the loan and asked if she'd take it or not. Remember that when you test your prototypes, let your user freely experience a prototype. Have them talk through their experience, actively observe, and follow up with questions. Remember that you're not selling your solution to them. Go out into the field or bring users in for testing. And always remember to capture notes. Worksheets for this activity are Test Your Prototype on page 18 and the Test Debrief on page 19. And so, how was your testing? Let's have a quick share for 3 minutes. Who felt that their team failed? No one really fails in design thinking. During the 2 sessions, we've actually learned 20 human centered mindsets and methods. Some of them are assuming a beginner's mindset, interviewing for empathy, journey mapping, ideation, imposing constraints, prototyping and testing, and now we're about to go to storyboarding. Congratulations, you've gone through a whole cycle of design thinking. You might not know it, but you actually practice different modes of design thinking every day. When you interview, when you do shadowing, that's empathizing. When you do role playing, personas, identifying pain points, that's actually defining. When you share your ideas, diverge and converge, you're ideating. When you're creating storyboards and mock ups, you're actually prototyping. And when you're trying to find out what works and what does not, that's actually testing. So now that you've completed a design thinking cycle, what are you going to do next? You're going to take a video of your pitch, following your story spine. You may use videos, photos, slides, and other visuals in creating your pitch. We encourage you to be creative. Each team is given a maximum of 5 minutes. Please email your entries to sdc1@swu.edu.ph. You have until midnight of December 9 to create and upload your picture story. Judges will vote for the winners on December 10. We will be assessing your team through the following: how you framed their problem, the POV and the how might we, and how you were able to develop your concept. That includes your prototype. We wish everyone the best of luck. For questions, email sdc1@swu.edu.ph. Thank you.